Good morning, Audrey here. We've been talking about goal setting as we go into the new year, and this is January 7th now. It's Tuesday. I've had so many comments from you about email comments, phone call. I appreciate the phone call. You know who you are, about getting through just the start of the year, right? The mad dash comment I made on Sunday night about just rushing to get an entire weekend's worth of work into that short window of time we have, that magic moment when everything's settling down on Sunday and we actually can look at everything and make sure it's happening, or that we're set up to make the magic happen on Monday. But it was really interesting because I was talking to a couple of you about your goals and what you're setting and how do we measure improvements. And there was such an interesting comment about the fact that waiting until the end of the quarter, waiting till the end of the week, waiting till the end of even the year is too much. And I deeply agree with that, right? I think we need to have intentional reviews as much as we can of our goals to make sure that they're working. But I wanted to talk to you today about the 1% improvements. So if we're looking at these goals, right, we set our goals. Now we have our why of why we're going to do them, the strategies, the tactics, the implementation, and then of course the evaluation. But as we talk about that, I want to talk to you about the 1% movement. So I look at your day and I look at my day, right? I feel like there are probably 7 to 11 really intentional things I can do to move the ball forward each day. So as I look at that, I want to look at it and have the conversation of what matters most to move it forward. So that 1% piece per day, if you can just set in your block of time to work on your law practice or on your business, not in the work, but on the work, if you can just set one action to move those big goals forward every day, you're going to be so amazed as to where you get. If you think even about the 1%, right? 1%, and when you add all that up, gets to 100%. And that's going to get us not even a third of the way through the year because we have 365 days. So I would say, as you're thinking about your goals, whether they're communication, whether they're workflow, client management, billing, how do we break them into actionable daily steps? Those 1% steps that are going to make a tremendous difference as we start to see them add up and move forward. So I want to talk to you today again. We're setting our goals. We have our goals, we have our why, we have our strategies, our tactics, our implementation, and then ultimately our evaluation. And we have our goal setting checklist that you can take a look at and download if you need some help there. But now as we look at those goals that on their face can seem huge, I want you to look at the strategy of how you're going to get there with those tactics that we're going to implement and what are those 1% movement pieces each day. Let's just take, for example, client management. I personally am working on a client management tool right now where there's something I'm doing in client management that really doesn't do anything for about 14 days, about 2 weeks. Things are happening behind the scenes, but there's nothing that the client needs to do. And 14 days of silence with a client, you think about some of your clients, that's not comfortable. So right now what I'm doing is I'm going in my 1% task, which I'm going to do right after this, is I'm going to write the client management email, and probably one or two of them, because I'll get in a vibe and maybe write even 2 or 3 of what it means as they're waiting for this work product to be delivered. And this applies to you and your business because you know how easy, how challenging, how simple, how complicated something is that you're doing, but those that you're delivering your service to do not. So let's think about that client management step. That's what I'm doing here, to alleviate stress, have that peace of mind on what you need to do. That's my 1% for today. I'm going to write that message as part of my goal for improving client management on a specific workflow in my business. And then what I'm going to do also, my next 1%, after I have them written, is I'm going to have someone else edit them to make sure that, I didn't have typos, those types of things. And then after that, I'm going to automate them. That's going to be my next step because these are frequently used emails. And so there is a slightly intentional touch, but for the most part, they're automated. So I want to make sure clients all have that same level of comfort, understanding, and what that looks like. So again, goals, but now we're going to think about, as we look at that workflow of how we're going to get those goals done in your implementation under your tactics, or your tactics that we're going to implement, how can we break that into our 1% goals today? Let's not make it overwhelming, but let's move that ball forward. together. So I hope you have an amazing Tuesday, and I'm going to see you tomorrow.